ba 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 da ba. Hello, we are live. All right. So let me there. I had to unplug my phone. I am so tired tonight. I actually literally just got home minutes ago. And so I am still getting set up and getting my cards out and got my extra bit of caffeine to keep myself awake long enough to do the readings. I was doing readings at Crescent Moon in Tacoma today. And actually had a couple of last minute readings. People came in looking for readings. I'm like, yeah, sure. So, but it was a busy day. It was a good day, but I am tired. But let's see. After getting my cards out and putting them in front of me, I just moved them over to the side. Like, okay, let's get those out of the way. So, anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for coming on. Like I said, I'm just kind of getting set up a little bit right now. But that's okay, because that'll give other people a chance to see that we're live and to come join us for the fun. Just lighting some sage at the moment, so I can clear my cards, smudge my cards, because they got a lot of action today. It doesn't. Okay, let's do this way. So, I am Patrick, if you haven't been here before, and I am the owner of Perching Wolf Studios, which is the Facebook page that this video is coming from, so you probably already knew that. If you're new here, what we are doing every Monday night, I get out my handy dandy deck of cards. The cards I use are called medicine cards. Each card, instead of like the tarot where they have a different like arcana or the different suits, there's a different animal on each card. And so I connect with the animals, and by seeing who shows up, each animal has a different message, a different energy, and different meaning. And so whoever shows up kind of gives you a message for the week, and it gives you the knowledge of which animal is volunteering to walk through the week with you, to lend you their strength and their medicine. So what we do is I shuffle the cards, and then I pull 3 cards. And I lay them out here in front of me, and then I go through them one at a time to tell you what the message is, what the gift is, what they're saying to you. And your only job is to choose a number between 1 and 3. And then whatever card corresponds to the number you chose, that is your message. So, I'm going to shuffle them up 1 or 2 more times here. And so if you are new, welcome. I hope you enjoy this. I always have fun. This is one of the highlights of my week. I love doing this, which is why I'm still doing it, even though I'm exhausted and could easily, you know, as soon as my head hits a pillow, it's just gonna. But this is important too, and I love doing this. I love interacting with you, even though I don't really interact, but I love doing these messages, so. All right, so I'm pulling 3 cards, so you can choose a number between 1 and 3, or you can choose a couple of numbers, or you can choose all 3 numbers, because this is an unlimited universe, and you can do whatever you want. There are no rules, only guidelines. Alrighty, so you got your numbers. So, the first card that came up tonight, if number 1 was your number, you got Blue Heron. Blue Heron is about introspection, really about stillness. And, you know, we can't get like the way we're taught in this society, etc. You know, it's like do, and you have to achieve, and you have to set goals, and you have to go for them. Constant movement, go. But when we do that, honestly, we're actually pushing those goals away. We're actually pushing away the things that we're desiring. Not to mention that most of those goals are surface things, like more ego, image things, status, and all of that kind of thing. And so we're denying our own self in order to get what we think we need to impress everyone else or to be a good part of the world, a citizen, whatever. But it's really in stillness and introspection, looking into ourselves, that rather than chasing things, that what we need comes to us. It's in that state of receptiveness. So Heron, Heron, and stillness does not mean laziness. Stillness is, how do I want to put that? Stillness is its own form of activity. I mean, especially for us that have been conditioned to run, work, do. It takes effort to be still. It's not natural to us because we've had that taught out of us, right? But Heron can stand still in the water for hours. And when he does so, what happens is he casts a shadow on the pond, on the water. And it's the coolness of his shadow that draws the fish. And so by just being still, being in his own energy, looking into his own shadow, what he needs comes to him. He doesn't have to chase it. And when it comes up, it's like an arrow shot. He goes from stillness to 100 miles an hour, zoom, and that long, sharp bill of his is just shoots through the fish, and so he's claiming those things that come. It's instantaneous. He sees what he needs, and boom, he's got it. And so stillness is not lazy. Stillness does not mean, like, we have we have this idea that life is an either or thing. You're either still or you're active. You're either good. Oh, that's not a good. I'm not going to go there. Because honestly, realistically, there is no good and bad. I was going to say good and bad, but that's a whole nother conversation. But like Heron proves that we can be still and yet fast. Life is a both and. We tend to favor one side of the spectrum or the other, not realizing that we are the entire spectrum, right? And so we embody the whole thing, the whole shebang. And so, and it's that stillness. It reminds me of I just did a soul retrieval for someone the other day. And she was kind of an elderly woman. I won't go into her name or any of the details because that's private, personal. But the animal, there's always, when I go and bring back a soul part in a soul retrieval, there's always at least one power animal that comes back to kind of help moderate the energy of the integration between that soul part, that returning soul part, and the person. And in this case, the power animal that came back was a bearded dragon, the lizard. And I had never worked with bearded dragon before, and so I'm like, okay, what is your gift? What are you coming to help with? How are you going to help with the integration process? And what he told me was similar to what I'm just saying with Blue Heron, that he was there to help literally moderate the energy, that he can stand in stillness in the sun all day long, soaking in that heat and that energy, and just soaking it in, basking it in, be perfectly still. And yet, when he needs to, he can zip away. And so it's like, what do I say? Mindful utilization of the energy. So he can conserve energy. He can sit in stillness and soak up that energy. And then when he needs it, zoom, he can go. And then he can sit still again for a while. And then he can go. So it's like, it's using your energy mindfully. When there's nothing to do, you sit in stillness. It reminds me of the first episode of Star Wars. The actual, episode 1, not episode 4, which was the first one released or whatever. But the first episode with Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi, and Liam Neeson was that other Jedi with him, and they were chasing Darth Maul, and they got separated from him by an energy field. An energy field came up between them, so they couldn't fight him anymore. And Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, was pacing back and forth, like just wanting to get in, wanting to get at him. So he's expending energy, and it's not going toward any good. He's just expending it, but Liam Neeson, being the more experienced Jedi, there was nothing he could do. He sat down and meditated. He conserved his energy. He turned it inward rather than expending it and using it up uselessly, so that when it became time to spring into action, he had that all available to him to spring into action. It's like a cat. A cat they can spring and they can run, and then they sleep, and it's like they're always ready to pounce because they always have that reservoir of energy. It's kind of like that's what Heron is. It's about being still when you need to be still and acting when you need to act. And it's through that stillness, which is the alignment with Creator, that we become inspired on what to do. It becomes inspired action. And so if Blue Heron is your card for this week, explore stillness. Instead of thinking you have to make things happen, or you have to go out and do that or get that, practice just sitting. Like, if you meditate, work it into your meditation routine. If you don't meditate, just take like 5 minutes, like when you first wake up in the morning or before you go to bed at night. Just sit quietly in stillness and just picture that thing, that situation, that person, whatever it is, and focus on the feeling. Like, what is it going to feel like to have this result, to have acquired that thing or that situation or whatever, and sit and feel that feeling in stillness. And then do nothing. If it doesn't come the next day, repeat that and meditate again, just 5 minutes a day, bringing in that feeling, bringing in that sensation, and then letting it go. And if you can do that, what you're doing is you're setting that vibration, that frequency out into the universe, and the universe responds by bringing that vibration back. So by casting that shadow on the pond, you're drawing the fish to you, and what you need comes to you effortlessly. It reminds me of long time ago, many years ago. I won't go into the whole story, but I totaled my CRV by running into an ambulance. I won't go into the details. It was actually their fault. They like pulled in between traffic and I couldn't stop in time, etc., etc. But anyway, so I totaled my car. And so I had to ride the bus for a while. I had to get rides for a while. And the person I was dating at the time was like, you need to get out there. You need to be looking through the one edge. You need to be looking at cars and kicking tires and going around. And I'm like, no, I just need to put it out there that I want my next car. And I don't have to do anything for it to show up. And we got in this big argument about that. And to prove herself right, she went online. She found the listings for cars. She found the car that I actually ended up buying the next day. And she's like, see, look, you have to do the footwork. It's not just going to come to you. And I'm sitting here going, you just proved my point, because I did nothing. You did all the footwork trying to prove me wrong. And all of a sudden, boom, here's this car. And I went out and bought it the next day. I did nothing. I did it. I was in stillness. I was calling my new car to me. And boom, it showed up within a day. And I bought it. With the money, it was exactly the money I got back from the insurance. And so it was like, boom, effortless. So stillness is not laziness. It's not inaction. It's not pointless or valueless. Stillness, like even in the Bible, it mentions how, I don't remember who it was, one of the prophets or something, but they went looking for God. They went looking in the tornado and in the thunderstorm and in all these different, the volcano and these different things, and God was not there. And then they went into stillness, away from all that, and that's where they heard the voice of God, the still voice within. And so it's only in stillness that we can find those things. And this seems to be one of the themes for today, because there was a couple of readings I did today where bear came up, and it was kind of the idea that only in darkness can you see the light. Bear is about going into, God, that's, okay, so that's, you got 3, if that was your card, you just got 3 power animals to help you this week. Blue heron, as well as bearded dragon and bear. But bear is about going into the hibernation, going into the darkness of the cave and dreaming his future into place, into reality. And so it's just like the shaman. The word shaman actually means one who sees in the dark. And when we do journey work, when we do healing work, we wear an eye covering to block out the light and to block out all the distractions and the extra stimulus, right? So that we can see with our third eye, we can see through the eye of spirit to what is real. And so we have to put ourselves into darkness in order to see the light. And same way, it's only in stillness that you hear that still voice within you that is the voice of God. So if that's your card, celebrate stillness this week. And however often you can, in whatever way, just set aside 5 minutes, a half hour, whatever you can, to just sit in stillness and quiet and just observe. But if you can go sit by a pond or a lake, even better, and just sit and observe. Just open up, take it all in, and see how different you feel. And you most likely, if you're like me, you will leave feeling a lot more balanced and empowered. And it's from that place of empowerment and feeling whole that we make the best decisions, that we do hear that still small voice within us. That's our intuition that tells us what the right action is. So trust in the stillness. Find stillness. Be the eye of the storm. Don't get caught in the storm around you. Okay? So number 2. If 2 was your card, we got a possum. Possum is about drama. And I see somebody on the feed who I just did a reading today, and possum came up. So possum is about realizing that, just like Shakespeare said, the world is a stage and each of us plays a part. You are in the world, but not of the world. We are a spirit having a human experience, not a human having a spiritual experience. In our essence, in our default, we are spirit. The humanness is a result or an expression or a reflection of our spirit. And so the spirit comes first. And so it's realizing that in your life, you are the writer, the director, and the actor. You are not the character, the ego, the identity that you think you are. You are so much more than that. You are actually the actor who is playing this part, because ultimately you are God. You are divine. We are all a part of that same source energy. And where was I going with that? So you are the one who is writing the script of your life, and everyone else is writing the script of their life. Everybody is the hero of their own story. Everybody is doing the best they can with what they have. And everyone is doing, believe it or not, what they believe is best. What they believe is the best for themselves, for others, for the world. It might be twisted, it might not agree with your vision of reality, but everybody is doing the best that they can. Everyone is their own hero. Oh, got it. Thank you. And now I know where I was going. So, I don't know if I've mentioned this before. I probably have. There is a wonderful, wonderful book that I love. It's called The Education of Oversoul 7. It's by Jane Roberts. She's the medium who used to channel Seth. If you ever come across the Seth books, he was one of the first ones I discovered when I was kind of moving in this direction. And anyway, the book is about Oversoul 7. And so he's an oversoul. He's up here looking down on all his lives that are taking place simultaneously. You know, he lives in the Middle Ages, he lives in the Renaissance, he lives in the modern times, and he lives in what we would think of as our future. And from his vantage point, he sees all these separate lives taking place down there. And each of those lives are him acting a different part for a different reason, for different lessons, for different experiences. This is who you are. You are the oversoul, and you're having a human experience. But you are so much more than this ego, this identity. So check out that book. It's a really good book. It's one of the ones that really made it click for me about time, and how time isn't linear, and how you can have, like, every moment has its own past, present, and future. And the next moment has a different past, present, and future, potentially. Then you can get into all those things. Oh gosh, what do they call that? I totally forgot what they call it, but jumping, when you start to jump timelines, like, I remember when Jimmy Smits died. And I have a friend who we were hanging out one day with some other people, and she mentioned something about remembering when Jimmy Smits died. I'm like, yes, nobody else remembers that, but I do. I distinctly remember it being on the news and being in the newspaper that Jimmy Smits had died, and yet he's still alive, and that never happened. But I remember it. My friend remembers it. And so there's, like, every moment has a different past, and I'm just remembering a different past from everybody else. And so we can jump, you know, and Seth even was talking about Atlantis and how it hadn't been discovered yet because in the past of the current present, it hasn't happened yet. But in the future, we would discover parts of it, because in the future present, the past would have taken place. And if that's confusing, read the book. It really helped me to figure that out. The whole quantum physics thing, and time, and possible realities, etc. Anyway, you are spirit. That is who you are. This body is a costume. This identity, this ego, is a costume you put on for a temporal time, and then you release into that greater identity of who you really are. And so what this means is you don't have to follow the script. You can improv, throw the script away. And what that does, if you go off script, you're not, don't live by other people's expectations. Don't do things because that's your role, because this is what other people expect you to do. So you just keep reading the script, reciting the lines, then they recite their lines, and you recite your lines. And there's no vitality in that. There's no creation. There's no anything. It's dead. It's sterile. So throw the script away. Know that in every moment you are brand new. And when you live honestly from your heart, authentically, then you force those around you to have to go off script. In order to respond to you, they can't read the script. They have to be in the moment, and they have to respond from their heart. They might tell you to, screw you or whatever, because you just threw their whole life into chaos, because all of a sudden none of it makes sense anymore because they were forced to go off the script that they had memorized. But that in itself is a gift to them as well, to show that there is so much more than the routine, the hamster wheel of routine that we get caught into, right? And so a possum is, when a possum comes up reversed in a reading, for instance, that is a sign that whoever it is getting caught into the dramas of their life, that there's all kinds of drama going on, and they're believing their own acting, they're believing their own situation. And it's like if a possum played dead to get away from the predator, but then believed he was so good an actor that he believed his own story and thought he was really dead. The strength of possum medicine is playing dead and realizing that it is an act, that it is temporary, and that you are the one that writes the script. Even I still, if I have a decision I need to make, I will still stop and I will think to myself, okay, when they make a movie of my life, what would be the coolest decision I could make right now? What would be the coolest thing to see on the big screen right now? And I will actually make a decision from that point of view. Like, okay, if this were a movie, what would be, that would be so unexpected. No one's going to believe it. No one would expect me to do that thing. So I'm going to do that thing because that would be the coolest script for the movie. Live your life as though it were a movie. It's about having a certain detachment from your life, to be the observer of your life, to not be totally caught into it. Another aspect of possum is the whole playing dead. That is the ability to say no. You're playing dead. It's like, I am not having that conversation, or I am not talking about that subject, or whatever. It's saying no. That is dead to me. I am not going to discuss that. So it's having that strength to be able to put up boundaries and say, no, I'm not going there. So that is a possum. So for this week, if that is your card, try to see your life as though it were a sitcom. Like, have that detachment enough that when something happens, you can laugh at yourself, because if you saw someone do that on a sitcom, it would be hilarious. And it helps with taking our lives lighter. We need to take, there's that old joke about how can angels fly? Because they take themselves so lightly. It's about light. Go to the light. I mean, there's so many different puns and connections and all of that, but it's really about lightening our load, letting go of the heavy crap that we've been carrying for way too long, and allowing ourselves to have a good time. We came here to thrive. We came here to enjoy ourselves. Our compass is the joy in our heart. Like Joseph Campbell talks about, following your bliss. You follow your bliss. You follow what your heart sings for, what your heart desires, what you long for, what feels like completion, what makes you feel whole and happy and uplifted. That is the compass that we need to go toward, rather than reading the script, not making waves, tucking our heads under so we don't get hit, or, it's like, I don't want to be seen, I don't want to stick out. Well, guess what? If you're watching this, chances are you came here to stick out. You came here to change the world, not to fit in. So be exuberant about it and celebrate your differences. Celebrate who you are and how different you are and how that affects the world. You, just by being yourself, you make other people re-examine their lives. You introduce ideas and perspectives and things that other people have never even considered. The world needs you to be who you are. All right? So, number 3. If 3 was your card, power animal coming in this week to help you is antelope. Antelope is kind of I was going to say complex, complicated. Maybe a better word would be deep. Let me take another drink of chai. Okay. Antelope is about sacrifice. And I know for the longest time when I heard that word, I would just cringe. Being raised Catholic, the word sacrifice carries a whole different meaning and a different weight than what it was intended to. In our Judeo-Christian world, sacrifice means martyrship. It means giving up the things you love for the betterment of others. It means that you don't matter, and so whatever you can give up, no matter how much you love it, to help someone else, the better. That is almost totally opposite of what the real word sacrifice means. Sacrifice means to make sacred. And you make sacred by letting go of the things that distract you from being your whole self. You let go of the things that aren't necessary, things that are not of your essence, all the extraneous. And it doesn't mean you can't have those things in your life. It's about just detaching from them and not attaching your identity to those things. The story that goes with antelope is that, long ago, during one of the ice ages, people came across the Bering Strait into the Americas. And so they found themselves in a brand new land with different animal life, but they were vegetarian at the time. All the plants were dead because it was covered with ice. They were freezing, they were starving, they were in a strange land. They didn't know where they were or how to take care of themselves. And so Antelope saw this, and he leapt in, and because he knew who he was, this goes back to Possum, because he knew himself as spirit, wearing a cloak, wearing an animal skin, he was able to say, hey, I'm a temporary being here. So take my flesh for your meat, take my hide for your clothing and for your shelter to keep you warm, take my bones to make your tools. I will help you. And so it wasn't that he was like, oh God, okay, here, take my skin, take my meat. I don't really need it. Don't worry about me. I'll be okay. It was, hey, I have something that can help you. And when we help someone, when we do something trying to heal or to help, it necessarily has to be a mutual benefit. Because if something is to your detriment, it is not to someone else's betterment. We are all connected. There is only one energy, one source energy. We are all part of that same energy. When one rises, it raises everybody. If you're cutting off, that came up in a reading today too. Like, if you're like cutting off your arm to give to someone else, they can't use that arm. They can't just stick it on and then use it to do what they need to do. And then you just gave them a burden. You gave them something they have to hold on to and carry, and you've just lopped off your arm, so you've handicapped yourself. That isn't serving anybody. And so we give from a place of power. We give from the place of love, of recognizing the oneness, the non-duality, and the connectedness of all life. And so our job is to let go of the things that weigh us down. The habits or those thought forms and beliefs that make us think that we're less than, that douse our energy. We need to let go of those. That is what we sacrifice. We sacrifice those things that we keep around so that we don't really have to grow. We say pretty things and then we go do something else because it's convenient and because, I'm perfect the way I am, so I don't really need to change. To grow, you need to let go of things that hold you back. Even if it's just your old identities, your old ways of thinking. Those are the things to sacrifice so that you can focus on being who you are moving forward. And by doing that, Antelope went straight to Creator. He gave up his physical self and his spirit was free. And he knew that was who he truly was. And so it wasn't a hardship for him to give of himself because he recognized the connectedness, the oneness, and how what's good for someone else is good for him. What's good for him is good for everyone else. Plus, he knew the cyclical flow of nature and knew that come springtime, he would be born back into the herd and have a whole new lifetime to live with the experience he had gained from that. So don't give up those things that are essential for you. Prioritize yourself. Prioritize the things that make you whole, the things that make your heart leap with joy. And let go of the other stuff. Sacrifice the other stuff. Even one of my favorite things to do is have a fire ceremony where I have a fire, whether it's just a little candle and like my smudge bowl, and I'll like write out things on a piece of paper and light it, give it to the fire to release, like whether it's a fear or a belief, say, okay, I no longer need this. Thank you, fire, for transmuting this energy into light. And then putting it in my smudge bowl where it can burn into nothing, into ashes. But that's what the true sacrifice is. In becoming better, we help everybody else. The world improves by the more people that are empowered and impassioned and aware, walking around in the world, raising the frequency. Everybody's frequency rises, and that's how we heal the world. So, when I think back, like I mentioned, being raised Catholic, I remember pretty standard giving up candy for Lent. And the whole point of that sacrifice, which it didn't occur to me until more recent times, but it was to see who you were without that thing. And it could be an addiction, it can be, you know, alcohol or drugs or sugar or whatever. There's like certain things we hold on to and we give them up, you know, during Lent. And it's to see who you are without that thing that you identify with. Like, I did find the loophole in that, though, in that every Sunday is a celebration of Easter. So Sundays kind of canceled out Lent. And so even if you gave up candy for Lent, you could still eat it on Sunday because it was a celebration of Easter. So anyway, it reminds me too, like I used to have tons of record albums, and I had a record player. I actually had enough albums that I was able to. I was a DJ in college on the college station, and it was a alternative rock station technically, but they wanted to like open up and give like different music a chance. So I was kind of a teenage urban cowboy at the time, listening to country music. I had so many albums that I was able to sustain my own 2-hour radio show. I remember it was a week or every 2 weeks, but I was able to sustain my own radio show because of all the albums I had. And so that became a big part of my identity. And as time went by and I moved out here into Seattle, the Seattle area from Minnesota, I kept kind of whittling down my albums until finally I had just like a handful. And I had my record player turntable that I had gotten, I think, for my college or for my high school graduation, but I finally decided I never listened to these albums anymore, so I can give those up. And so I actually got rid of all my albums. That was a step in itself, a sacrifice. Like, I thought that was who I was, and so it was this total revamping who I really was. So I gave those away, but I still held on to the record player, just in case. And so I had this record player for years. No albums to play on it, but I had the record player just in case I ever came across albums that I wanted to listen to. And so one day, I finally was like, you know, that is just taking up space. I don't even have anything to play on it. I should let it go. And the first reaction I had was, oh my God, who am I without that? And then it switched and it was like, oh my God, who would I be without that? And it became an excitement like, whoa, I don't need that. That is just ballast hanging on that is holding me down. It's like an attachment that every time I see it, you know, it's taking energy from me. It's a part of my identity that I don't need. And so I got rid of it. And it was like this lightness that came from that. That was true sacrifice. That was giving up something I might have identified with before, that I loved before, but it wasn't serving me any longer. And so I became lighter by letting go of that extra ballast. You know, like the sandbags on a hot air balloon when they drop the sandbags so that they can go higher, is kind of that same thing. So cut away all the extraneous things that distract you from being who you are, you know, and put the focus back on your heart, back on yourself, back on your growth. Make yourself the priority. Make your growth the priority and let go of anything that doesn't feed that. Because when you do that, you move into stillness. And then you don't have to own things. You don't have to hoard things. Things you need just show up. And the universe has a funny way, when you hit that point of alignment, that things will just show up. People, situations will just happen before you even realize you need them, before you can even ask for them. They just show up. And so that, and then because you don't have all that weight on your back, you can follow those breadcrumbs, and it becomes an adventure to see, okay, oh, if I eat that fish, where, ooh, that's yummy. You know, and follow the breadcrumbs to see where they go, because without all that weight, you're free, and you can move in any direction you want to. Another thing about antelope is, a lot of times when antelope comes up, it's because there's a question of trusting yourself on knowing what is the right thing to do, or knowing when is the right time to do it. Antelope comes in, and it's actually kind of reflects the same thing I was saying with heron, where it's the both hand. It's actually exactly what I was talking about with the cats, how they can spring out of nowhere. They have the energy that they can be laying there quietly sleeping, and the next moment they're springing across the room. Antelope knows when to leap in and when to leap out of any situation. They don't sit there worrying about it. They don't sit there on the prairie worrying about if a cougar comes along or whatever, because they trust themselves, and they trust their intuition, their connection to the universe, that they will know how and when to act. So that, if that's coming up for you, if this is your card, if you have some decision to make, again, go to stillness and know that when it is time for you to act, you will know exactly what to do in order to help that situation. And it might be, if you're in a situation and you're like, why am I still here? Why am I still here? Go back into stillness and know that you're still there, because whatever right timing, whatever, like, all the puzzle pieces haven't quite come into place yet. So you might be in a holding pattern in that situation. But when the time is right, you will know it, you will recognize it, and you will leap. And you will know when to leap from that situation. So give yourself the benefit of the doubt. Get off your back. Get off your own back. Don't judge yourself or think you don't know anything, or you're useless, or I don't know what to do. You do know what to do on a very deep level. Your heart knows what to do. It will know what to do in the moment. You don't have to plan it all out ahead of time. Improvise. Be present in the moment. And when it's time to act, because you're coming from that place of stillness, you will have that connection to spirit, that you will be inspired as to what is the right action, and you will know when it is the right timing to engage that action. So trust yourself. You do know what's right for you. And if you're still in something, like, I know I spent time in relationships and in jobs that I felt like I should have left long ago. But then I realized in hindsight, looking back, that no, I knew things were over. I knew there was something else. There was more than just that restrictions of whatever that job or relationship were. but that other thing hadn't quite gelled yet. It wasn't quite time. And sometimes, you know, we need that extra discomfort. That's a tool. That is a gift so that we understand this thing is not right for me. And sometimes it takes that discomfort to hit critical mass for other things to fall into place. So don't get down on yourself if you've been in the same place and you're wondering why you're still there. If it was time for you to leave, you would be gone. So just trust that there's still something, some reason, some purpose for your being there, but know that it is changing, that there are things under the surface that are shifting and changing, and that when the time is ripe, and when you look back on it later, you're going to say, oh yeah, now I see why it happened when it happened, because this other thing hadn't been quite set up yet, or whatever. Just know that there is right timing in the universe, that it's by letting go, moving into stillness, surrendering to the flow, that we move into wholeness. Then we don't have to guess, then we don't have to plan, then we don't have to be in that fear or scarcity mindset, because we know that everything comes to us when we need it, and that we will know when to leap on it and when to leap away. All right? So there you have it. And I did it in less than an hour. Woohoo! I finally decided to do just 3 cards every week. I was doing 6, and then I was intermittently doing 6 and then 3. Doing 3 on the days like today where I worked all day doing readings. So I'm a little bit overripe and tired and kind of little punch drunk maybe. But this gives me a chance to go into more depth, plus I'm not taxing people's attention span by going off into another tangent, into another half hour or whatever. So this is working out really well. Thank you. All of those who have been with me since I started doing this, thank you for your patience and your perseverance, for sticking with me as I got this figured out and to a workable, doable format and length and everything like that. And if you're new, I hope you enjoyed yourself. I hope this was meaningful for you. Call on these animals, whichever one called you this week. If you need more guidance in the middle of the week, I'm going to post this video to my Facebook page as well as my YouTube channel. And so, like, if you have more guidance you need in the middle of the week, choose a different number and rewatch this video and see what other animal might come up and what that message is for you at that time. And of course, feel free to share this video. Invite your friends. The more the merrier. And if you enjoy this, you know, consider coming in for your own personal reading. I do a reading of 5, sometimes more cards, and they all get aimed at you. Like I said earlier, like as a shaman, I'm not just regurgitating the meaning of the animals, like the dictionary meaning this animal means this. That's the launching pad. But then I'm reaching up to find the messages that pertain specifically to you. And, you know, in this time of such weird, unprecedented confusion and change and everything, that's my job, is to support you. This is now basically my full-time job, so I have more time and energy to commit to this, to help empower you. That is my job, is to empower you. Like I said, the more empowered people we have on the planet, the better off the whole planet is. And so my job is to empower as many people as possible So if you need extra guidance, if there's something any way that I can help support you on your path, let me know. You can check out my website at perchingwolfstudios.net and see all the different shamanic services I offer, see if any of those resonate or come for just a reading, or even if you just wanted to schedule a half hour or an hour to talk, you know, to get a shamanic perspective on what's going on in your life, to get a bigger picture, to get a shamanic take, and then I can even journey to my guides and get guidance for you for whatever the situation is for you. And I teach classes and I offer mentorships if you're interested in the shamanic path. We can do one-on-one mentorships, and I have a hard time narrowing it into just one or two things. So whatever, if there's anything, if you feel drawn to working with me, please contact me and we will see what we can do. We're all in this together. We're all walking each other home, and it is my deepest joy to be able to help other people find their own joy and their empowerment. So I believe that is it, my friends. Thank you for joining me for another week. If you're interested, I also do another live video on Wednesday evenings at 7. That one is a sacred pipe ceremony, which is kind of a safe and sacred space for people to come together and set their intentions and their prayers, send them up to Creator on the smoke of the tobacco. I smoke the pipe and send those prayers out. So if that sounds interesting to you, please join me Wednesday at 7 right here on my Facebook page live. And otherwise, I will see you next Monday at 7:30 for another reading. So have a wonderful, wonderful week. And until I see you next, wherever and whenever I see you, know that I love you, that I see you, and that I honor you. So until next week, go shining. I will see you later. All right. Bye.